Welcome to the Mental Health Diet, a show that dives into the connection between what we eat, self-care, and the well-being of our minds and bodies. I'm Sharifa Viola, also known as Shri, your host, and together we'll embark on an incredible journey of self-discovery and transformation. Join me as we explore the world of plant-based foods, holistic approaches, and nutrition, and how they can positively impact our mental health. I'll also be sharing personal triumphs over anxiety and providing insights into overcoming challenges and cultivating resilience. So, together, let's empower and inspire one another on our journeys towards becoming stronger, better versions of ourselves. Now, let's get started on today's episode, and thank you so much for tuning in. Hey, y'all. Welcome to the Mental Health Diet Podcast. Y'all, I miss y'all. It's been a minute. It's been a whole minute to the point that the name of the podcast changed. If you are an OG, you probably remember or know that it was called the I'm Good podcast. And the name change basically came from me taking a podcast course. Shout out to Carla. I took a podcast course, and basically it said that with the podcast title, it should really resonate with your audience. And basically when your audience sees the title of the podcast, they should automatically know what they're getting into. So I'm like, I feel like, with the I'm Good podcast, the reason why I had that title was because a lot of people within our culture, the Black culture, a lot of times we tell people we're good even though we're not. So I wanted to call it the I'm Good podcast. But I decided, I want to kind of just, get more people involved and just also really be, y'all, I'm over here, y'all. Okay, whatever. I'm over here trying to double do things. So I'm over here recording this podcast episode, and I'm also trying to record this podcast episode for YouTube. So, hey, YouTube. But yes, so anyways, I decided just to change the name of it. So it's called the Mental Health Diet. And so with the Mental Health Diet, we're going to talk about different foods that can help your overall mental health, as well as different things that you can do for your body. And if you go back to all of the previous episodes, it's all those type of things in regards to mindset, healing your mind, and just feeling better overall. So the question is, I already know, y'all are like, where have you been, y'all? So I don't really like this word a lot, but I feel like it's been thrown around a lot, but it's the truth. Like, life been lifing, and life been lifing, y'all. And I don't know what else to say. But in the midst of it all, I'm teaching myself, no, sis, pull through. Come on now. And so I felt like it was time. I kept holding back and procrastinating. And honestly, I listened to a sermon today with Joe Osteen, and he was talking about procrastination, how that really is, that's lack of obedience. No. Stop procrastinating. So, I had an original release date for this podcast, and I missed it by one day, but it's okay because this is our original release date, which is Fridays. But there are certain things that I wanted to do to the podcast and tweak it, but I was like, sis, listen, just publish an episode. It don't have to be perfect. And something that I also deal with a lot, but I'm doing a lot better, is perfectionism, where I feel like everything has to be correct and perfect before I release it. And sometimes, that's just not the case. And there's beauty in imperfection. So here we are. Okay, here we are. You probably won't even know the difference, whatever. But yes, y'all. So my last podcast episode was back in September. Back in September of 2022. So yeah. It feels a little odd. Now we're in August, the first week of August, and it does feel a little odd getting back on here. But y'all, this is honestly my happy place. So much has happened. I now have locs. I feel like I joined a lock journey on February 2nd of this year, 2023. And I feel like this really helps me with the overall mental health space of things. I used to always kind of worry about my hair, especially for me being a black woman. I always wanted to make sure that my hair looked right, so I had to look a certain way. Whether it was me wearing faux locks or a bust down, even though I never had that. Um, but like wearing a wig, I felt like I always had to look a certain way. And so, like, when I went out in public, I would wear a wig with like a baseball hat, whatever. But now with the locks, I feel like I can be free. I can show my face and I can just show like who I am, because I feel like a lot of times when I was wearing those protective styles, which are fine, I feel like I was kind of just hiding myself. So yes, your girl got locks now. That's one thing that I did to kind of help my overall mental health. Some other things as well that's been going on that I will talk about as we continue to progress with this podcast. But I'm just in a space where I can't let anxiety control me. I can't let different things that happen in my life control me. Now, obviously, sometimes life will tell you to sit down, okay? Life will tell you to sit down, like sit all the way down. But when life tells you to get up, you got to get up. Oop. And y'all probably hear that. That's my alarm going off. I now have a continuous glucose monitor that basically also, if you don't know, guys, I am a type 1 diabetic. I've been a type 1 diabetic for what, almost 21 years. But anyways, now I have this device that tells me when my blood sugar is low, and it's kind of annoying because y'all, it just be blaring out loud like your blood low, but y'all, I'm good. I did eat something, I'm good. But yeah, so let me try to see if I have some juice around. But yeah, I can always stop this recording and get some juice. Anyways, so what was I saying? So yeah, so what we're going to do today is we are going to talk about the 12 daily habits for a balanced mind. I think for me, this is something that is very important. I started this thing back in January where I was, y'all, my phone is just, listen, we just going to turn this phone off right now. I started this thing back in January where my goal was to read 10 pages a day. I got it from this thing called the 75 Hard Challenge. And so it really did help me, but something that I'm learning is like I need to really start digesting a book. So I'll read a book, but I'm like, am I fully digesting it? Am I just reading to get past those 10 pages, or am I fully digesting it? So that is something that I did incorporate this year. Was I started reading 10 pages, but now I'm at the space where I'm going back to some of the older books that I was reading and just really understanding what it was that I was reading. So yes, so that is one thing that I've been doing just to kind of overall balance my mind. I also started doing yoga. Her name is Yoga with Adrienne on YouTube. So I started doing yoga, like a 5-minute yoga morning routine. I used to do nighttime routine. I got to get back into nighttime routine. And then I also started journaling. So I was doing daily journal prompts. I was doing daily, weekly, and monthly. And then I also had a gratitude journal as well. So something else that I really, really need to get back into, because it really helps me balance my mind, my overall spirit, my soul, all of that. So a really, really good book I do want to mention to you guys. I think her name is Tanaz Chubb. A really, really good book that I do recommend for anybody that wants to, like, well, this is a podcast about feeling good. That just really wants to lift up their spirits or lift it higher, is a book called Positive Energy. A really, really, really great book by Tanaz Chubb. I got my book from Five Below, or you can also get it from Amazon. So that is not sponsored, y'all, at all. So anyway, so today we're going to talk about the 12 daily habits for a balanced mind. And so in regards to this refers to a collection of practices or routines that can promote mental well-being and help maintain a sense of balance in your daily life. So these type of habits covers various aspects of your life, which includes self-care, mindfulness, and emotional wellness. And so while the specific habits may vary depending on different sources, what I'm going to do is I'm going to provide some examples of daily habits that are often recommended for a balanced mind. All right, so the first one is practice mindfulness or meditation. So, I feel like we live in such a busy world that sometimes we're like, when do we have time to meditate? Because I know for myself, I'm like, when am I gonna have time to meditate? Like, I gotta get up, I gotta do this, I got blah blah blah. When do you gotta find time? It's honestly one of those things where it's like you literally just have to find time. So, taking a few moments each day to focus on the present moment can help reduce stress and improve mental clarity. So if you have an Apple Watch, what you can always do is the Apple Watch does have a setting, a meditation setting that you can use, and I think they have like 1 minute breathing exercises, 2 minute. But you can try doing that. Like I said, it is definitely hard. We live in a world or society where everything is go, 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 go. Like you get up, we look at our phone. It's like everything needs our attention. If you have a business, it's like you got to tend to your business. If you have kids, you got to tend to, like, it's just a lot, and I think, for myself, I know I sometimes find it very difficult to practice mindfulness or meditation because when I'm practicing it, I'm like, listen, while I'm doing all this meditation, I already looking at the things on my list. I'm looking at the time and I'm thinking about the things that I got to do throughout the day. And I'm like, sis, I ain't got time to meditate. But no, if your mind is thinking that you don't have time to meditate, that's how you know you should be meditating. And I'm trying to teach myself that if I'm telling myself I ain't got time to relax and take a moment to be thankful for this breath, thankful for this life, if I cannot take the time to just stand still and focus on me, that's how I know. That is exactly how I know I need to meditate. So the first habit for a balanced mind is to practice mindfulness or meditation. Number 2, engage in physical activity. So we all have different levels of fitness. We all have different levels in regards to how we work out. I've been falling into this trap of looking at everybody on TikTok and Instagram and trying to, honestly, I've been comparing myself like, oh my gosh, how come she can lift these weights or how come he can lift these weights and I can't? We got to stop that, y'all. That honestly right there will mess up your mental health. We literally have to stop that. And something that I try to teach myself is like, yo, Instagram is literally a highlight reel. I do it, even on my personal page. Like I'll post stuff of things that are going well. Like I'm not going to show my worst. I may give you a testimony about things that I went through or dealt with, but I'm not going to give you my worst. So I would say engage in physical activity to your level and to your liking. Even if that means you just doing yoga, 1 minute yoga, or just a quick stretch, like physical activity, like I said, depending on everybody's situation, maybe you can only do a stretch. Maybe you can only move your arms in circles. Like physical activity looks different for each person. And one of the books that I read was called Atomic Habits by James Clear. And he talked about the goal is to become 1% better each day. So the second thing that you can do to focus on a balanced mind is to engage in physical activity. So regular exercise has been shown to boost mood, reduce anxiety, and increase overall mental well-being. And so you probably already know as well, if you have exercise, I always make jokes about this on the podcast. When I go exercise, 9 times out of 10, I have never said to myself when I went to the gym, I should have never went unless something happened and blah, blah, blah. But 9 times out of 10, when you leave the gym, you like, oh yeah, look at me, boom, bam, because I know I be like, I look like a snack. Yeah, that's just me. Like when I leave the gym, listen, you can't tell me nothing. When I leave the gym, I be thinking I already lost 10 pounds. I be trying to get a salad. I be getting smoothies. I'm like, can't eat that candy because I just be fancy. Yeah, that's me. Number 3. Number 3 is get enough sleep. So sleep is so underrated. Okay. So basically prioritizing, my wording, I just be messing up. Quality sleep can have a significant impact on mental health, including improved concentration, mood regulation, and stress management. Yes. So sleep is so underrated. It's like there's so much, like especially for me being like an entrepreneur, for other entrepreneurs or just anybody, it's almost like if you sleep, you don't care about your life. If you sleep, you don't care about your goals. It's like, sis, I need sleep, bruh. I need sleep. And depending on what type of health issues you have or we have, I know I have certain health issues. Like I actually need my sleep. I can't play the all nighter game all the time. Like I used to be able to pull it off in college, but listen, y'all, get your sleep. Whether you feel like you need 6 hours, 7 hours, or 8 hours. I know for me to feel really, really good and refreshed, I need a good 8 hours. Like give me a good 8 hours. Like that's my point. That's when I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm good. I'm good. But getting enough sleep is very, very important to focus on having a balanced mind. Like I said, it's so underrated because it's like sleep. And the thing about sleep is like you don't know you're really sleep, until you wake up and you're like, oh, okay, I just woke up from a nap or just woke up from, sleeping through the night. But we sometimes, just like mindfulness, we take it for granted because like when we're doing it, we feel like we're not doing nothing. When we're meditating, we feel like we're doing nothing. And then when we're not getting enough sleep, we're feeling like we're not doing nothing. It's something that I just thought of when you think about it. A lot of these habits that I go over, a lot of times when we practice these habits for a balanced mind, we actually think we're not doing nothing because society tells us that doing something means XYZ. Society tells us that working, going to work, or being busy or scrolling through Instagram is what really, means to be busy. But a lot of the times, like this stuff right here that I'm telling you today is really what makes you great and a better person. Okay, so next, number 4, you want to maintain a healthy diet. So, eating nutritious foods and staying hydrated can support brain function and contribute to overall mental well-being. And so, that's also the synopsis or whatever the thing behind this podcast is about. Can the foods that we eat heal our minds and bodies? And the answer is yes. And so a lot of times we think that it can't. We think that there has to be some special magical some trick to get well, but a lot of times the best way for us to get well is through our diet. Now, if you do have to take medication, that is fine, but medication plus a good diet is a win-win. And if you're not taking medication, a good diet alone is a win-win. And so it's so important to make sure that you eat a healthy diet. And sometimes too, I will say this, do not be hard on yourself. Something that I'm trying to teach myself is like, when you know better, do better. But if you don't know any better, don't be mad at yourself for not knowing something that you didn't know. Now, if you wish to do better, I would say go ahead and seek that information, but don't be upset about what you don't know. So whatever level that you're at right now in regards to what healthy eating looks like for you and the knowledge that you have about healthy eating, use that. And as you continue to grow, you'll continue to figure out, okay, here are some other ways for me to eat healthy, but be okay with where you're at right now. Definitely seek out the information, but don't compare yourself to how others eat. So number 4 is maintain a healthy diet. Number 5, you want to cultivate positive relationships. Listen, be around people that are supportive, loving, and if you can't be around those people, maybe you need to hold off and just listen, figure out what you can do and try to find yourself to be surrounded by those type of people. So number 5, you want to cultivate positive relationships. So nurturing healthy relationships with family, friends, or a support network can provide emotional support and enhance mental resilience. So whether that means you are part of a network, if you're part of an organization, even honestly, listen to a podcast, joining a podcast community. So if you're listening to this podcast, you're part of a community of other people who think like you. And I do have some things in the works, coming up, that I wish and I am going to plan to really grow this community. But you really want to focus on cultivating positive relationships to help yourself to get into a more balanced mind. We all know what a negative relationship can do. We know what it can do for your mental health, especially your emotional health. And maybe you don't. Maybe you have only, well, listen, we don't live in a perfect world. if you're listening to this right now, you probably know, you probably been around someone that was negative. I know I've been around negative people, and guess what? At one point, I was that negative person, and sometimes I have to check myself. I'm like, oh, sis, you're being negative, you're complaining, chill out. And sometimes I just gotta shut my mouth and be like, sis, sit down. So, also too, like I said, you gotta check yourself, and that's one thing that I've really been focusing on for myself this year, is like really focusing on myself and seeing where I could check myself. What can I do to make myself better? I need to, something that I put down is that I need to work on my, like, strengthen my strengths and work on my weaknesses. Like, okay, you have your strengths. Okay, continue to go with that. But your weaknesses, how can we improve that? What can we do to turn those around to something positive? So, number 6 on my list. Is that number 6? Let's see. Let me see. Number 6 is you want to practice gratitude. So as I said earlier in the podcast episode, I do have a gratitude journal. So what I do is every night, I haven't been as consistent. Last time I wrote, and it was maybe about a month ago, at night, what I would do is I would write down 3 things that I'm grateful for the day. It could be big, it can be small, but really just small things that occurred throughout the day. So one of the things I would say I'm grateful for today is that I recorded this podcast episode, or I got over my anxiety and fear about recording and publishing the episode. So it doesn't really matter how big or small it is. But even if you don't have a journal, I would just say maybe just waking up and saying thank you. Thank you for this day, or whatever that looks like for you. We're all different. We all have different things that we need to be thankful for. But I will say one thing we can say right now: if you're listening to this, you have breath in your body. So let's listen. Thank you for this breath in my body. Okay. Listen, if you're listening to this, that's one thing you can be thankful for. That's one thing I know for sure. And so, you really want to practice gratitude. So taking time to appreciate and express gratitude for the positive aspects of life can foster a more positive mindset and improve overall well-being. All right, number 7, engage in hobbies or activities that bring joy. Y'all, this is something that I'm learning right now, y'all. So last time, when I start this okay, listen, y'all probably don't know. I'm in my 30s. I'm in my early 30s. I am a millennial. Yes, y'all. And as I've gotten older, I'm like, sis, you have to start engaging in doing things, going out, going to events. You have to start doing things that you actually like. Not so much of, stuff that just your friends like, or you're only doing it because your friends can come, or vice versa, whatever. Like, actually engage and do things that you like. And as you find yourself going to events, as you find yourself doing hobbies, you'll start meeting other people that enjoy what you do. Like for me, I remember I went to a paint night for my job maybe about 4 or 5 years ago, and I loved it, and I haven't been back since. And honestly, it's because I'm like, I don't really know anyone else that would want to do paint night with me, and I have suggested it, but it's not like a big deal on their list. But like for me, painting is therapeutic. I didn't even know it was therapeutic until I did paint night. And I'm like, ooh, call me Picasso. Is it Picasso? Whatever. Yeah, I don't know. But like my painting came out really, really nice. And so I want to say engage in hobbies or activities that bring joy. Not that bring Sally joy, Timothy joy. That brings you joy. Okay? I think a lot of times we try to do things that bring other people joy. That's fine. A lot of us are people pleasers, not a lot of us, but I know sometimes, I had to learn this. Like, I can't please everybody. If I'm pleasing everybody, I dang old short in not pleasing myself. Cause how am I pleasing everybody? Like, what percentage of battery am I on? If I'm giving you 99% of me, like if I'm giving 99% of me to you, what percentage do I get left? 1%? And by the time we have 1%, we need to get plugged back up. And so if I'm getting plugged back up, that's sleep time. So, we need to really focus on engaging in hobbies and activities that bring joy. And like I said, as you do these things, you'll start to become more aware of you, what you enjoy, and more aware of life and what really keeps you calm and feeling good, especially if you're dealing with anxiety and depression. You'll start realizing like, okay, this brings me peace. Okay? And I think sometimes the things we be putting ourselves in, the atmospheres we put ourselves in because of friends and family may be chaotic, and it may be triggering our anxiety and depression, So you really want to engage in hobbies or activities that bring joy. So participating in activities that you enjoy and find fulfilling can contribute to a sense of happiness and contentment. All right, the next one on the list is set realistic goals. So, breaking down larger goals into smaller, achievable tasks can help maintain motivation and a sense of accomplishment. I will be very, very honest with y'all. This is one of my biggest hurdles that I've been kind of dealing with sometimes is setting realistic goals. I'll set goals that are like just beyond me, and then I get upset that I don't reach it. So if you're somebody like me who, not that I want things quick, but a lot of times, like, I'll set these goals and I know I can achieve it. Like, that's the thing about me. I know I can achieve literally anything that I put my mind to. Like, there's no if, there's no ands, no buts. I can literally achieve anything that I put my mind into. But the problem is that I'll put down these realistic goals without actually breaking them down to smaller tasks. So if I say I want to make 50 million in 2 months, but just put 50 million, don't have like no actionable steps, it's like, yes, sis, you're going to be disappointed in 2 months when you look at your bank account and there's negative 50 million in there because you didn't have any actionable steps. So you want to set realistic goals. You want to break down larger goals into smaller, achievable tasks, so that it can help maintain motivation and a sense of accomplishment. And for me now, so what I do is I use my planner. And I generally write down 3 things that I want to do each day. And it could be small or big. It could be something as simple as write out an intro or look up an intro for the podcast, whatever. I'm just making up stuff. And then that's one of my goals, and then I cross it off. And so when I cross that off my list, I do feel accomplished versus making up a huge goal like create an Instagram page and make 5 posts in one day. It's like, sis, be realistic. Like, it's already enough trying to create the new Instagram and then doing the bio. So you got to really be realistic. All right, so the next one on our list in regards to the 12 daily habits to a balanced mind is you want to, oh, this is a good one, y'all. You want to limit exposure to negative news or triggers. Y'all. Whew. That's a word, okay? You want to limit exposure to negative news or triggers. Being mindful of media consumption and minimizing exposure to negative stimuli can help protect mental well-being. Y'all, I think we don't even realize it, but maybe we do realize it. And this goes for social media too and scrolling. Because y'all, I'll be honest, y'all, like I have to like, there's this page y'all probably know. If y'all don't know, it's called The Shade Room. And like, that's where I go for sometimes for like my news source, or like, honestly, it's gossip on there. And like, I have to limit it. And sometimes I'll just not look at it. I'm not following their page or anything, but I'll go to it because I know it's there. You can find out about the latest happenings, whatever. But, you know, sometimes like I'll use that because I don't really watch the news that much. My thing about the news is like, tell me once, but you don't have to keep telling me. Like, the news will literally tell you the same story 10,000 times in different ways, but it'd be the same thing. And they don't really tell you anything positive until the end. And so when you watch the news, all you think is that, like, when you watch the news, I ain't even gonna get on COVID during the news. Ooh, child. But when you watch the news, we have this sense of thinking that everything is going bad in life. And think about this. If you already feel like your life is lifing, the word I don't really like to use, but if you already feel like there's a lot going on in your life and then you watch the news, bruh, so on top of you looking at what's happening within you internally or externally, now you're looking at what's happening around the world. Like, it's good to be aware. I'm not saying don't watch the news, but it's good to be aware. But we don't realize how much the news really, really affects our mind until we like, oh my gosh, I can't take it. Then it's literally not too late. But we shouldn't have to get to the point where we're like, oh my gosh, turn it off. We shouldn't have to get to that point. And that goes for social media, y'all. Social media, like it says, know your triggers, limit your triggers or delete them, remove them. Like, know your triggers. Like, for me, sometimes when I scroll on social media, there's certain things that trigger me. Like, you know, it could be big or small. Like, maybe I'm feeling sad about something and then somebody posts something. Like, everybody is different. And that's the thing you have to understand. Everybody is different. Everyone has different triggers. And honestly, the news doesn't always affect some people. So you might be one of those people where the news is fine and it doesn't affect you. But for me, it affects me. I know when I watch news and see something negative repeatedly, I'm like off. For me, it messes up my mental, and I'm like, turn that thing off. Put on some comedy. Listen, come on, do something else. So the next one on my list is you want to practice self-care. So this is number 8. You want to practice self-care. Oh no, is this number 8? Y'all, not me losing track. I did not number these today. I'm so sorry, but these are 12 daily habits for a balanced mind. Let me see. What number is that? 3. So let's go over. Number 1 is engage in a physical activity. Number 2, oh no, I'm sorry. Number 1 is practice mindfulness or meditation. Number 2 is engage in physical activity. Number 3 is get enough sleep. Number 4 is maintain a healthy diet. Number 5 is cultivate positive relationships. Number 6 is practice gratitude. Number 7 is engage in hobbies or activities that bring joy. Number 8 is set realistic goals. Number 9 is limit exposure to negative news or triggers. Number 10 is practice self-care. Okay, you're practicing right now. If you're listening to this podcast, listen, you're already practicing it right now. So cheers to you, okay? You already winning. You already one step closer to being a better you. And you already are a better you. So you are the best you. Okay, yes, there are different levels, but where you at right now, listen, shout out to you, sis. Shout out to you, bro. You doing your thing. All right, so number 10 is practice self-care. Making time for self-care activities such as taking a bath, reading a book, or engaging in hobbies can promote relaxation and reduce stress. Once again, as I said before, I feel like practicing self-care, all this thing seems like you're not doing nothing. I feel like when you give time, it's in this sense of the world, it's almost like if you give time to yourself, you're selfish. Like, there's different levels of selfish. I'm not saying be selfish where you're just like, oh, I can't do nothing for no one. But you do have to have a sense of self to yourself. Like, just think about it. Do you give yourself time to actually be you? Whether you're a sister, a brother, a mother, a father, a aunt, whatever title that you have, just think about it. Like, do you actually give yourself time to be you? Or are you giving all of you to someone else? Is it all to your work? Is it all to your family? Is it all to your friends? At what point will you give yourself to you? Because all you do is have you. So even like relationships, like when it comes to like dating, like we're so focused on, especially like, us out there, like I'm a single woman, and it's like even dating, like we always like, okay, I want this type of person, and I'm looking for like, this in a person. But like, what about you? Like, do you even know what you like? Do you like, if the person found you, if a guy found you, especially for us girls, are you what you want to be, or are you just talking? So there's just a lot about that. But yeah, you want to practice self-care. Listen, take that bubble bath, okay? Take that shower. Read that book, okay? Scrub those feet. Practice self-care. Listen, y'all, because it can really help promote relaxation and reduce stress. Number 11, you want to connect with nature. Okay, you want to connect with nature, especially, honestly, this is good for people that live in warmer climates. It's warm where I'm at right now. But you really want to connect with nature and just get outside. Something that I've been wanting to do, or I've been kind of doing, is like grounding. So like, I went outside one day and I just took off my flip-flops and I just put my feet on the grass, and it just felt so good just to feel the earth. Because a lot of times we're walking around with socks and shoes and we're just so busy, but we don't really take time to feel the earth and just be like, wow, I am here. I am alive. I am present. Like, so you really want to connect with nature. And if you're not able to do that, just maybe getting outside, get some quick sunlight, but connect with nature. So spending time outdoors and immersing oneself in nature has been shown to have a positive impact on mental health. So whatever that looks like for you, it may not mean staying outside, especially if you've got allergies, because y'all, bruh, I got allergies. But like, whatever that looks like for you, connecting with nature, get outside, and just feel the joy of just being present. And I'm just thinking like to myself right now, like as I'm looking outside and I see the trees blowing, like there's really beauty in nature. We don't think of it that way. I think sometimes we feel like, oh, we take it for granted. Like we take outside for granted. Let's be real. When the pandemic happened, oh child, I really realized I took it for granted. I was like, ooh, I was like, wow, I took outside for granted. So now you hear us on social media talking about, oh yeah, we outside. Because listen, we were inside. We were definitely inside. All right. So the last one on my list for the 12 daily habits for a balanced mind is to seek professional help when needed, y'all. Seek professional help when needed. Recognizing the importance of seeking support from mental health professionals when dealing with challenges or persistent mental health issues. So, y'all, this part right here is real, okay? So I've been the person where people used to come to me, and they still do, when they will have issues like anxiety, depression, or problems, and I would be their quote unquote therapist. Well, guess what? Sometimes the person that's giving all the advice needs help too. And guess what, y'all? I started last year. Last year was my first time ever doing therapy. I finally saw a therapist. I've been trying to do this whole life thing without one, and I feel like there's such a stigma, especially within the Black culture. Like, why do you need a therapist? Just go to church and pray, and which is fine. Yes, and I believe in God, and I have a spiritual background. I grew up in the church. I have a connection with God, but I God also put certain people in this world for a reason, and it's like, we should utilize these people if they're to help us. Now, granted, if seeking professional help, you seeking someone, they're not there to help you, that's one thing. But just like we see any type of doctor, we should also want to see a mind doctor. That's what a therapist kind of is, like a mind doctor. Whether it's a therapist, a psychologist, or a psychiatrist, it's a mind doctor. And especially, like I said, within my culture, there is such a stigma, like, oh, you're fine, you're ain't nothing wrong. But seeking professional help when needed, and even honestly too, when it's not needed. I'm gonna be honest with you. For me, like, I continue to go to the therapist even when it was not needed. I may not go as often, but I decided, like, since last year to continue to go, because it's like, why wait until something drastic? Like here it is. Here it is. Like, why wait until something is terribly wrong to be like, oh my gosh, I need help? Because sometimes at that point, you already just all over the place. So you might not even be able to comprehend what someone may say to you. And the way I look at it is, I look at going to therapy almost as like a bicycle. Like, it's like, it can be like, it can be an ongoing thing for someone, or it could be short term. But if anyone that's listening to this right now is debating, like, should I see a therapist, whatever, I would say, obviously, if you're debating, if you're already, let me put it like this. If you're debating see a therapist, I say go see one. Because if you're already debating about seeing one, clearly there's something there that is telling you that you should see one. For years, something was telling me that I should see one, but I kept saying, why? Why see one? I have this podcast. I'm telling people about eating healthy food, eating fruits and vegetables. I don't need a therapist when I can eat certain fruits. I don't need a therapist if I can work out and make myself feel better. But at a certain point, I feel like if you keep having recurrent thoughts that you want to do better, because it was me wanting to do better, just do it. And if it's not for you, it's not for you. But I definitely wanted to include that in for one of the 12 daily habits of a balanced mind is seeking professional help when needed. And if you honestly really take all these things together, all these 12 things, and honestly don't feel like you got to do everything at once. But if you incorporate these different things into your life, into your lifestyle, you'll definitely start to notice a change. I'm not perfect. I have not incorporated all of these things. I am a work in progress. And right here, me even recording this episode, I'm so proud of myself, y'all. I am so proud of myself. Like, I literally was procrastinating since September. I let anxiety get to me. I let fear. I felt like I lost my podcast sauce. I felt like no one wanted to hear me. Shoot. I thought no one was following me at first. Until, here's the funny thing. I looked at my analytics and I said, oh my gosh. Like, ooh, like, and not to say that I didn't think anyone was following me. Like, I knew people were listening, but I never even once looked at the numbers of who were, like, I just never looked. And so I realized I have a community, and I can't, because I have anxiety or fears, or I'm looking at other people and how their podcasts look and they got a production and they got all this and that. And I'm like, well, I'm still sitting inside the house doing this. I'm comparing myself, and I'm not allowing God to use me to bless others with information. So here I am, y'all. So I'm going to go back over real quick. So if you want to write these down, the 12 daily habits for a balanced mind. Number 1, you want to practice mindfulness or meditation. Number 2, engage in physical activity. Number 3, get enough sleep. Number 4, maintain a healthy diet. Number 5, cultivate positive relationships. Number 6, practice gratitude. Number 7, engage in hobbies or activities that bring joy. Number 8, you want to set realistic goals. Number 9, you want to limit exposure to negative news or triggers. Number 10, practice self-care, sis. Practice self-care, bruh. Number 11, connect with nature. And number 12, it's okay, y'all, to seek professional help when needed. All right, y'all, I'm so happy to be back. Listen, I cannot leave y'all neglected no more, but y'all already know what time it is. If you are new here, I always end it off with a quote of the week. This quote was actually a scripture, and I'm going to use this one. It is walk by faith, not by sight. Let me repeat that again. Walk by faith, not by sight. Thank you all for joining me on this journey. Listen, y'all, I'm so excited about this community that I have built, that we are building. Listen, the mental health diet community, formerly the I'm Good podcast. I'm so happy for everything that God has in store for me. Like, y'all, like, ooh, child. But yes, y'all, I'm going to let y'all go. This was a long episode, but it was needed because your sis is back. She back, and that's on period. So yeah, y'all. So I will see all of you beautiful people next week. Bye-bye. Thank you for joining me on this episode of the Mental Health Diet Podcast. I hope you enjoyed our discussion on nourishing your mind and body. If you found value in today's episode, I would greatly appreciate your support. One of the best ways to help us grow is by leaving a rating and review on Apple Podcasts. It only takes a minute, but it makes a world of difference in reaching more listeners who can benefit from this content. To leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts, simply follow these steps. Open the Apple Podcast app on your device, which you already probably have it up if you're listening to me. Click on the show to open the podcast page, which you probably already have up. Once again, scroll down until you see the ratings and review section. Tap on the stars to rate the podcast, and if you have an extra moment, leave a brief review sharing what you love about the show. Your feedback means everything to me, and it helps this podcast to continue to bring you valuable content each week. Remember to subscribe to this podcast so you never miss an episode. Thank you for being a part of the Mental Health Diet community. I can't wait to catch you on the next episode. Stay healthy, stay happy, stay blessed, and keep nourishing your mind, body, and soul. Period.